How's it going, all Nova, Chevy Nova 73, 74 fans? This is one of the admins and founder of our lovely group. And tonight's Zoom meeting, we have Craig Watson on with his super nasty, quick 73 Nova. And basically just going to ask you a few questions here and there, Craig. But I'm going to let you roll with the show. Kind of give us a rundown of the car, what you have done with it, power plant, suspension mods, brake mods, some other type of stuff you have going on, and everything like that, paint, body, everything like that. So just go ahead and take it away, give us the intro, where you're from, and kick it off with that sweet ride of yours.
Okay. Thanks for inviting me to do this, Will. I really appreciate it. Again, my name's Craig Watson. I am from Columbia, Kentucky. This is my 73. That's known in certain circles as the Death Nova. That name was given to it by the members of the Nova Listserv mailing list that I've been a part of since 1998. And actually, that's how I know David. It's kind of been lovingly called the Death Nova for a number of years now. And I actually have the license plate, and that is not a real license plate. That is a laminated piece of paper. I guess I can start with a little history of the car. I've had this car since November 7th of 1990, which is memorable and easy to remember because that's my 17th birthday. It's not my first Nova. I had a 74 that was virtually identical that I wrecked when I was 16. And this was the replacement. But it was originally a 307 car, turbo 350, 273 put in rear end, originally green interior, but that changed almost immediately. The 74 was dark green with black interior, and so the black interior from this car, that's in this car, is from the 74, except for the headliner, which doesn't swap. But I pulled the rally wheels, the dual exhaust, kept the engine. My dad wouldn't let me swap engines right at that time because the car only had 31,000 miles on it. And He said, there's no way we're putting a 96,000 mile 350 in it just because you want to. But after a couple of years, I started collecting part. I was out of high school and able to do a few more things without Dad's permission. We built the 350 up a little bit and swapped it in. So it wasn't the Death Nova then. It just had a mild cough. So it really wasn't even sick at the time. But it's progressed through a number of different variations over the years, various different motors. After the 350 was a 383, then it was another 383, then it was a 434, then it was another 434. The remnants of the last 434 is actually sitting right here. And that is the block that I shattered a piston on. It did that to the oil pan.
Oh, wow.
So actually, I have the block sold. This engine made 827, was configured for nitrous. So it made 827, which is pretty stout for a nitrous small block. Could have probably made 900 if it was going to be a naturally aspirated motor. But November of 18, shattered a piston and just about junked the whole motor. So we started over, and I've been kind of thinking about going turbo for a number of years. And I thought, well, now's the time. I'm starting over. I've got basically nothing to use. And so I started on a single turbo setup and ended up partnering with Brian Tooley Racing. So the car now has a Brian Tooley Racing 388 with a 76 millimeter single turbo built for NMCA Extreme Street. So it's a class legal car, which is what it's been for probably the last 17 years. I've been class racing with it. So it really hasn't seen any street time for probably 17, 18 years, really. But somebody was wanting to see the hood, so I put the hood back on it. But I'm going to set the phone down and take the hood off and kind of give a walk around. So bear with me while I set the phone down.
No, do your thing. Hey, and also, while if you can hear me, you can still talk. Are those fiberglass spin
Yeah.
have on there?
Yeah, it's fiberglass doors, hood, deck lid, bumpers.
Wow.
So basically, I mean, the body itself is stock and original, but yeah,
Got
it's
a good.
pretty lightweight.
Yeah. Look at that.
That's the beast. It put 1,385 to the rear tires. So in a closed group like this, I don't mind divulging some information. But when I scattered the motor, I was building it for NMCA Extreme Street, but it's gonna, and so you can run a lot lighter with nitrous than you can boost. So it's got a Skyview Race Cars tubular subframe that I don't know that if you can see much of, but the car was 320 pounds underweight when I got it all put together and put it on the scales. so I've got to stack a lot of weight in it, and I've got a lot of weight already added to it.
I can see how you got the front end built with that tube chassis coming down and everything. I can see it nice and clear. It's gorgeous.
Yep. I'm not exactly sure what I was going to say, actually. That's a Precision 76 millimeter class legal turbo. They've got some pretty tight specs on what turbo you're allowed to run. You can basically buy the short block off the BTR website. They'll ship it to you unassembled, and you can put it together. Diamond pistons, Callie's rods and crank. It's actually a Concepts Performance aluminum LSR block, so that kind of compounded the front end weight being pretty light. But but that gives me the option to move weight around. Here in a minute, I'll raise the car up. I've got it ready on the lift where we can look at the bottom side of it, and I'll show you some of the weight I've got stacked in this thing already. But got an RPM transmission, is 2-speed turbo 400, and rear end's a 9-inch. It's been narrowed about 4 inches, and it's full of strange goodies.
Just that, because I remember seeing the smaller tires on it whenever you were doing a few wheelie launches on the track. Do you have a mini tub in it now and have a bigger tire up under there?
It's got a 275/60 on it now. It's okay. I ran it for a number of years in Outlaw 8.5, so it was on a 26 8.5. But it's I went with the Detroit Speed mini tubs so that someday, and this has kind of been my idea all along, is to keep the car to where if I ever wanted just to put it back as a nice street car, that I can undo basically everything that's been done. So the car itself is not cut up. I could cut the cage out of it, put a trunk mat in it, put some new carpet in it, put the stock interior. I've got the stock doors, stock fenders. I've got all that I can put back on. So Greg, it's.
Can I ask a question? Where did you run the your battery shut off?
Battery shut off is right here. It's a
pull type, right?
Yep, it's pull type. It's probably too dark to see. I should have grabbed a flashlight or something like that, but it's right down in there. Yeah, I've struggled with that for a number of years with where to do it, and I've run it in a different spot. I've actually, and it's still here. I don't know if you can see this switch right here.
Yep.
That used to activate a continuous duty Ford style solenoid that was up on the firewall that would kill power to the car. But I went away from that a couple of years ago. I finally talked myself into punching this one hole. I thought, well, I can weld that up. It's just one little hole. I couldn't make myself drill through a good set of taillights. Those are the original taillights in the car. So it's just to pull.
Now, how much does the car weigh? Is it kind of like a 50-50 split? I know you mentioned the aluminum block and everything. But do you know the weight of the car exactly?
Yeah, yeah. I had it on 4 corner scales back about a month ago, 6 weeks probably, and with me in it, it was 28.95. But I've got to weigh 31.25 in this configuration, so I was 320 pounds short. So it's still 80 pounds light right now. So it's got an AEM CD7 dash. I have just recently taken the stock steering wheel off, and that kind of broke my heart. But I needed a button for the bump box, so and I went to this little small Grant wheel, precision shifter, and a bunch of data login stuff. I don't know if you guys can see. I've got two AEM 22 channel modules that will log 22 channels and send that over to the dash. The dash actually does the logging. Then inside the glove box, and it'd be too dark to see in there, but I'm running the AEM Infinity ECU.
I'm really impressed at how well that cage is built around the stock dash, and you kept all the metal and everything in there. That's really impressive at how well they did that cage in there, man. That looks really nice.
Yeah, it was really impressed, and this is who did it. Bivens Race Cars in Owensboro, Kentucky did all the cage work, and yeah, I didn't want to go through the dash. I didn't want to cut. I didn't just refuse to cut the dash, and so we went through. Let me show you from this side. We went through the firewall here. There's a plate that just unbolted that was the right size. So that bar went right through the stock firewall without cutting on the driver's side. Then on the passenger side, I just used a aftermarket blank off heater plate, and we went through there. And then it dips down below the dash and has some gussets for strength. Yeah, so the car is not cut up at all. The firewall is 100% stock, except that I've smoothed the seam up above. So I can put this car back to being a real car at some point. So, and actually right now, if it had a radiator in it, this is probably the most streetable the car has been in years. But that's all the water it holds because it's on methanol. So it runs super cool anyway. It really doesn't even need to have water in it.
I would love to get a turbo set up on mine one day on my 383 stroker, but I tell you what, man, you have got that thing built to the nines. Like, as we used to say down south, built to the gills, because it has got everything, like all go fast stuff on it. You know what I mean?
The thing I really like about it is he's kept the proper 73, 74 front end and hasn't converted it with a fiberglass 68 to 72. I really like the fact that it still looks like a 73 front and back.
Yep.
Yeah, amen to that.
Yeah, that's
I love it.
I don't ever plan on changing that.
So tell us a little bit about that splitter you got down there, the air dam, because there was a few people that made mention of that as well when we first posted pictures of your car a few days ago.
Yeah, the bumpers are glass tech as well as the air dam. Really high quality. I did cut for the 5-inch downpipe. I've been really pleased with how that turned out. But Glass Tech makes some really nice stuff, and but I've got a hodgepodge of fiberglass. The hood is VFN. It's a VFN Sunoco style. So I just stood it up over here when I took it off. The hood is a VFN, and it's a 7-inch in the middle. It's a VFN
Nice.
Sunoco bubble hood is kind of what they're referred to. I just kind of got tired of the traditional Cal hood. I'd had Cal hood on the car for a long time, and I was just ready for just something a little bit different. And I put together a group purchase a few years back, and about 9 or 10 people got in on it and got a good deal on it. The deck lid is also VFN.
Yeah.
And the doors are hardwood. It's a little bit of everything on this car. The front fenders, I have no idea what brand they are. They are not great. They were not super nice pieces. I got them used for a song, so the price was right, so I couldn't pass them up. But they're not great. Oh, David, I told you I was looking for the eyebrow piece. This is why the lip that holds the little stud has popped off, and it's broken. So this right here will not stay in place. So
mine on my car is the exact same
way.
way. Mine is the exact same way. Mine broke like that too. And I was actually in my shed this past weekend and I couldn't find it, but I got to keep digging. I know I have a couple. I have one put away from my Nova, but I know I have a couple of them. So I got to keep looking for you.
Okay.
Are you talking about the clip? Are you guys talking about the clip for that?
The whole piece of trim, this whole piece here, it's broken on the backside. And so it won't hold the clip any longer.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean. It's a little piece of that pot metal that bends over and it just broke off.
Yep. It eventually it just gave way.
Right.
Too many years, but that's not an original piece. Unfortunately, I've had this car in the wall twice. And if I do it again, I'm probably done. My family was about to kill me after the second time, and I decided to go back to racing. And so if it happens again, I'm probably just a permanent crew member at that point.
So I see Lexan front windows. Do you have the original glass in the back as well, or what do you run? Is that just the only? I see you got original glass front.
Yeah, everything else is original, is all stock. I thought about it at some point to go to Lexan on the rest of it or some of it, but at this point I just don't need it for the weight reduction. Mm-hmm. But the wheels, RC components on the front, 15 by 3.5. Those are the Exiles. They make a bunch of different cool wheels. They're local to me in Bowling Green, and
nice.
Know those guys pretty well. Look. Then the rears are actually billet specialty comp 5s that RC Components added the double bead locks to. So they're kind of a hybrid billet specialties RC Components at this point, but they match up pretty well. Their wheels are fairly similar, so it's a look that works. But
it looks great, man. I think it looks beautiful. Those wheels really, especially the black on black, and then you have that inner billet look to it. That's kind of the big deal now with a lot of the drag racers. But personally, I think it looked really great, to be honest with you.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, the whole car is gorgeous, man. So tell us a little bit about the suspension. I know it's not stuck.
Yeah. All right, got some lights on here. Maybe we can see a little bit. Yeah, here you can see the tubular subframe. That gave me so much more room for the turbo setup. I wanted to go down and forward with all the piping and keep it a little cleaner look. But as far as suspension, these are TRZ tubular control arms. They were on par with the stock, so just a bolt on that you can get from TRZ. AFCO coilovers, valved by Mark Mincer down in South Carolina or North Carolina. I think he's North Carolina. Then I've got these chain limiters so that you don't top out the shock real hard and damage them. I can adjust it here to take travel out of the front end. Right now it's at max travel. and I'm using all the travel it has. And so far, the valving of the shocks is enough to control wheelies. But there's a bunch of weight right there. There's 150 pounds, 2 plates that I've bolted to the bottom of the subframe. So actually, I hurt my back pretty bad fooling with those things. Shouldn't have been lifting them the way I was lifting them. They're about 75 pounds a piece.
Yeah.
But
gotta make that weight.
Yep, got to make weight. Got the Turbo 400. Then you can see a little more of the chassis. How it's a 25.5 cert, so that's legal to I think 750 in the quarter mile or 450 in the eighth. So far, I've been 491. That was with some misfires going on. So I'm going back to the track on Saturday, but the track prep won't be for radials, so I won't really be able to lay down some power. I'm just kind of trying to shake down, be sure that misfire is gone.
Yeah.
But the rear suspension is pretty simple. It's Caltrax and the Calvert split monoleaf with sliders. So I made a bracket that welded in that mounts the sliders to. It's got a gusset, but it's also got the through hole still maintained for the stock bushings. So I could cut this back off and put stock shackles back on it if I wanted to put the stock rear end back in it. The sliders really free up the movement. They take binding away. And this is something you got to keep clean, keep greased up. It gets dirty pretty quickly, especially if you got grease on it, which you should. It picks up dust and rubber and dirt and rocks, and so these have to be cleaned fairly often to keep them working the best.
Okay.
I've got Menser AFCOs on the back as well, double adjustables. The ones in the front are double adjustable as well.
And she plants pretty good with that setup you got going on there?
Yeah. Of course, on radials, you gotta have a pretty sticky track. Radials are fairly unforgiving, especially these horsepower levels. Once they spin, they don't recover that well. But I've been pleasantly surprised with these Mickey Thompson ET Street R's, which is what these tires are. You can actually slightly haze these and drive through it a little bit if you're not just completely knocking the tires off. And they seem to recover better than other radials that I've had. So this is a pretty wicked little tire.
Yeah.
But it's been a 111 60 foot the last time I had it out. I've got more power. I can give it early. So I'm going to a closed radial test session next Thursday, and I'm going to get after it really hard that day and see if I can make it go like 108, 109, something like that.
So tell us about so you got the 49-inch, and then you probably have a pretty built hefty drive shaft there, yeah?
Yeah, that's fast shaft's carbon fiber shaft. I had aluminum in it and broke it, which beat the floor pans up and kind of broke my heart because the floor pans in this car were pristine. You can kind of see one spot right there where it's a little boogered up. But the floor pans in this car were pristine until I broke that aluminum drive shaft. So I went to carbon fiber. It's lighter. It's not any quicker than aluminum, but it's definitely quicker than steel. It's about, on my car, it was 500s quicker in the 8th mile than steel. But if you break carbon fiber, it just kind of turns to dust. It doesn't.
Yeah.
It
You don't
doesn't
have all
beat your car up.
flinging around.
That's
like shrapnel going around on you.
Absolutely. So it's kind of a safety item. But something I've just done before getting the car finished up is I milled some billet lowering blocks, and I did an angle correction on it as well, so I don't have to run a separate shim to get my pinion angle, because I wanted to lower the car down some in the back, but to keep the instant center more where it was at, I went to the Camaro spring pockets. They raised the front spring eye location up. I believe it's like 1.25 inches. It's pretty significant. On a Nova, you would be able to get this bolt out and to take your spring out. On the Camaro, you can see how it's tucked up, that you can't get that out. So you have to drop the whole spring pocket down. But that put the instant center back to pretty much where it was stock. And because I didn't want to change the amount of bite that was in the car. I didn't get back to the exact same amount of bite that it had before. So I've had to go looser on the extension of my rear shocks, which I wasn't expecting. I was expecting to go quite a bit tighter with the additional power, making about 500 horsepower more than what I did before. But it's working. It's working. Yeah, just CalTrack. Key to these things, people get all caught up in how much preload you've got to run. That doesn't really factor a whole lot into things. Just give it maybe a half turn to preload, and if it's not going straight, give it what it wants to make the car go straight. But be sure that they're nice and free is the main thing. So I'm always checking. Anytime I've got the car up in the air, I'll grab a hold of them and wiggle them to be sure that they're nice and free.
Yep. So I mean,
split model leaves.
I was going to say that goes to show you don't need to.
I was just going
to say you don't need to have that high dollar 4-link rear end to go fast. I mean, nowadays cars are built so amazing and so fast with so much horsepower compared to what they used to be even 10 years ago. The drag scene of cars has really changed drastically in a better way direction, I think.
Yeah, it's amazing how much it's progressed and how it keeps progressing. You're talking about what you can do just on a fairly simple suspension with CalTracks and leaf springs. Ron Rhodes, I think, went a 103 or 102 60-foot last night down in South Georgia. Went 424 in the 8th. So reset the small block nitrous record that he already had the record. Just keeps breaking it. So of course that car's kind of a unicorn. It's in the hands of probably the smartest leaf spring racer on the planet. So I was going to say something else is back here is actually the fuel pump is back here and it's cable driven. So this cable runs all the way up to the front and is belt driven off the crank and on it fuel pump. It's a little more than what I needed, but with methanol. And if I decided I ever wanted to go to a bigger turbo, step up in class, go to X275 or something like that, then I would have the fuel system all ready to add that power if I wanted to, step up over 2,000 horsepower. And it's got a Holly plant, and before I start it, I'll just kick that on, and it'll push fuel to the front, and it lights off pretty well like that.
Oh yeah.
And these are the only blue fittings, red and blue fittings still left on the car. I wasn't anticipating anybody paying much attention to it, so I thought, what the heck, I'll leave it.
It's under there. It'll be all right.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
So you mentioned
it's got a Pro Torque. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
It's got a Pro Torque bolt together converter. So they seem to have hit it pretty close to what the car is going to like. So I'm real pleased with that. Aerospace brakes on the front. I'm wanting to go to some TBM brakes this winter. The Aerospace been on here a long time. The calipers are getting some wear to them. Not bad. They still spin pretty well. But it's about time to step up to something a little lower drag, the Aerospace, and then the Strange in the back, which is what I was working on today. It's got Strange back here, and you've got to keep at it a little bit to keep the drag out of it, whereas the TBM calipers are engineered a little bit differently.
Well, I always ask this as well. Now, is the car staying in the family, or do you foresee you ever getting rid of it, or are you definitely going to keep it? Because you got quite a bit of time and effort in the machine.
Yeah, it's at this point I've had it longer. there's only a handful of things that I've owned longer than this. I've got a radio in my office at work that I've had since 1986, so that I guess is here to stay too. So no, the car's not going anywhere. My wife's always kidding me that she doesn't know which one that I would get rid of first, so, the car or her. So no, she actually knows. She knows she comes first. No, I've had it way too long now. I've been racing it on the track since 1995. It was still a street car then. I've just got way more hours than I could ever get money out of it. It's no telling. I don't know. It would be interesting to know how many hours and well, it would not be interesting to know how much money I've spent. I would not want to know that number.
That's definitely not one of the questions we want to ask ourselves whenever we have something sitting on the rack. That's for sure. So tell me, what's going on with that paint? Is that is there anything special about the paint? Is that like a triple black?
No, it's
or what
it's
you mentioned earlier, it was a different color and everything. So give us a little rundown on that real quick.
Yeah. The paint's just a single stage. That's not even base clear. That's and it's been painted in multiple stages. The quarters and the roof were done in 13 by one guy. The deck lid I painted myself probably in 11 or 12. The hood was at a different time. I don't know. It's all been painted by different people at different times as it kind of needed it. It shines, and it's a good straight car. The fiberglass is not nearly as straight and nice as I would like for it to be. That's kind of the nature when you're dealing with lightweight race parts. It's hard to get them straight and without putting a bunch of weight into it. So you don't want to go putting a bunch of filler into a lightweight race part. That's the whole purpose is to take weight out of the car. Exactly. So you kind of, live with the waves, and most of these fiberglass parts don't actually fit all that well. And it's kind of the nature of the beast. You can see, let's see, this is actually 1990 paint on this fender. That's the original, well, not original, but the first black that I put on the car. And then you can actually see a little bit of the stock green right there, David. See that right there? Green. It looks like stock green. Touchdown. But there's the other fender that is not original, because that's the one that I got into the wall with, unfortunately. And there's the door.
That smacked.
There's the deck lid. There's another door. The original hood has been in my parents' basement since 2000. I haven't seen it in years, but it's still there.
You mentioned you're going to be doing some racing. Are you going to have anybody there at the track that can maybe get some video and maybe possibly post it on the page for us?
Yeah. We video every run.
Nice.
We've actually got about a seven car team. Half of us right now are in the middle of rebuilding cars, but so there's 4 of them running right now. Yeah, we video every run. We data log every run, and we'll go back and watch the video and then look at the data and correlate it to what the car did. But so yeah, I'll have video of every run that we make. It's usually in slow mo. I think I'll ask the guys to get me a full speed video here or there. They're a little more fun to watch and a little more fun to share online than the slow mo stuff. The slow mo is interesting, but then it's nice to see a full speed one too. So yeah, absolutely, I'll definitely share that stuff.
Well, I think I'm speaking for everybody when I say we would love to see that thing in action.
Yeah, this is a 60 millimeter wastegate. It all ties together in the middle, and then you got the wastegate right before the turbo. This is all stainless. Amazingly enough, these headers are just Flotex from Holley. I think I've got $100 in these turbo headers, and they are thick.
That's pretty amazing,
because thick flanges. They sealed up really well. Yeah, it's crazy.
No, it is beautiful, and stainless. I know there's not $100 worth of stainless. There's a lot more than that, because that's not a cheap product to go by. But that is a beautiful, beautiful tubing job for whoever welded that up, man. That is nice and clean, all tucked up in there like that. Because you don't got a lot of room in the front of our cars for doing that Nova, which I noticed you don't have the radiator setting up front like that. But good Lord, you changing out that subframe certainly helped out to get some of that in there for sure.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I wouldn't have been able to run these headers in a down and forward configuration. They're actually meant to go up and forward. But I pieced all the hot side together, tacked it up. I don't have a TIG, so I took it back out to Bivens Race Cars and let them do the finish welding.
Yeah.
But I fabbed it up and then let them do the finish welding. So and they just completely knocked it out of the park. Those guys are so talented, and they don't take your car and hold it hostage. When they take it, they're ready to work on it, and they get it right back to you. A lot of shops are afraid to turn down work, and so they take your car and then sit on it, and knowing full well that they're not in a spot where they can work on it. And it might stay a year, it might stay 2 years. And the term chassis shop jail is unfortunately way too commonly used.
Yeah, and it's a darn shame, because guys want to, where a job that would typically take, just a few months, turns into a year. So it really puts a dampening on not only just the sport, but one's spirit and their motivation to get their car back out there and rolling. But you certainly got a lot of good stuff on that car. That's for darn sure, man. It is gorgeous.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I went through the car from one end to the other. It really started in the winter of late 17. Blew the car apart. The car got really inconsistent. 16 was a great year, won a championship with it in the OSCA organization, running a class called Nostalgia True Street, which is kind of a throwback to a local class that ran back in the early 2000s. They were real street cars, limited power, but so it was kind of a throwback to that. And I was lucky enough to win a championship that season of 16. Then in 17, in the winter of 16, winter of 17, I didn't think the car needed all that much. So I didn't do a whole lot of upgrades. I didn't do a whole lot of maintenance. The car had just made its fastest pass on the last run that it made. Come out in 17, the car's super inconsistent. I fight it all year long, and just got really frustrated after having a great year to then having a fairly mediocre year. So I blew the car all apart at the end of that season and threw it from one end. Freshened up the motor, new transmission, went through the rear end, set the shocks off. Turns out it was probably mostly just the shocks and the transmission. So that's when I upgraded to the RPM transmission. That was that winter. Went up to Rodney up in Indiana. Killer guy, just the nicest guy you'll ever want to meet. He just wants to see people have fun with their cars and go fast. It's just crazy how much he helps people out. But the shocks actually were the main culprit for the car getting inconsistent. And if there's one piece on this car that makes it all work, it's the shocks. And you can't spend too much money on shocks. I see people, trying to lay down power with a set of 9010s or just a set of 3-ways on the back. And every penny you spend on shocks is well worth it. It changed when I went from QA1s to the Minster AFCOs. Completely changed the car. The car would not leave with the front end on the ground. It was a wheelie monster. Some of those pictures that you guys have seen, those are they're AFCO shocks. And Mark Minster is he's a shock guru. He'll take AFCOs, new AFCOs, revalve them, put specific valving for your combination in them, tell you where to start out on the settings, and you can get a hold of him. If you drop him a text, give him a phone call, you can get a hold of him. You're at the racetrack, and hey, I'm out in left field. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. The car won't go down the track, and he'll say, okay, do this, do that, do this, and you'll probably go out the next pass and go right down the track. So he's a great guy to use. And there's other people out there that do similar things with custom modified shocks, but going away from the lesser shock completely changed this car. It was, you never knew when it was going to wheelie. It had to pick the front end up 12 to 18 inches to go down the track. And so that's kind of on the edge. And if, maybe the air is a little bit better, the track's a little bit better, it's making a little more power. And the next thing you know, you've got a 3-foot wheelie that's not coming down for 200 feet. I've done that a few times. So and plus it's wasted motion. When you get to these horsepower levels, if you can keep the front end down and still hook it, it's actually a more efficient use of your power. Now, something like a super stocker or a stocker that's fairly limited on power, they've got to usually pull a pretty big wheelie in order to keep the RPMs up to keep from bogging the motor. So there are situations when a nice big wheelie is actually the faster way to get down the track.
Yeah. Now, with that said, I was actually going to ask you also, what type of launch control, or do you use launch control? Do you have a trans brake on there, or do you foot brake it, or what is your preferred method of launching that thing on the track?
Yeah, it's got trans brake, and then it's got a 2-step built into the ECU. Yeah, I'm launching anywhere from 3,500 to 4,500 typically is where I'm at this stage of the game. And so yeah, absolutely trans brake. When you're running on a 4T, it is super hard to cut a good light just foot braking. And plus the trans brake, although when you first start using them, they seem violent. They actually load the rear suspension, so you can actually apply more power. Even though it seems like a violent launch, you're actually applying that extra power in a way that actually makes the car faster and actually easier to hook. There's been times that I've tried to slow the car down, taking power away at the hit, and not be able to get down the track. And you put the power back in the car, and then it starts hooking and going. So it can be a little counterintuitive.
Okay. So at this time, I want to kind of open it up to anybody that's on our chat tonight or on our show tonight. If they got any questions for Craig, to go ahead and shoot them out, and just kind of throw what you got at Craig on that beautiful machine he's got there. If y'all got any questions, go ahead and unmute and fire away.
Drop the car back down unless anybody wants to see anything else up top. I mean, anything else down below. So I'm gonna go on mute for just a second while I drop it down.
I never had an idea just how built this car actually was. And like Craig said, I've known him since '98 and it's actually because of Chris and his friend Bruce Johnson that I started working on my car and taking my car away from stock. And I had no idea just how far along your car has come, Craig. What a machine. What an absolute beautiful machine.
Well, thanks, David. I really appreciate that. Yeah, it's been a labor of love. Of course, it's been a lot of frustration at times too, but and it's gone through so many different gyrations and different engines. And the first time I took it to the racetrack, it went 1361, and the last time out, it went 491 in the 8th mile. So it's kind of picked up quite a ways. Wow.
So do you?
But it's hopefully next.
I'm sorry. Do you generally stick with 8th mile, or do you run quarter with it, or now that you've gotten so fast, are you staying at 8th, or Is that what your group is doing now, or how's that go?
Yeah, I've been 8th mile for quite a while now. It's been a number of years since I've made a full power quarter-mile pass. Pretty much all the racing organizations in this area, even when they run at a quarter-mile track, they typically run most of the faster classes 8th mile, which is just fine with me. It's less expensive, it's safer. That last 8th mile when you're running the quarter with quite a bit of horsepower, you're just waiting for something to go wrong. Pretty much everything's over with. You're already in high gear before you get to the 8th mile. So that last 8th mile, you're just waiting to go horribly wrong. So it's fine with me just to run 8th mile. Now, if you're a street driven car, that may only do 85 or 90 miles an hour in the 8th mile, then there's not as much thrill to that. So I can understand, back in the day, I was certainly wanting to run quarter mile all the time, because it's, if heck, I go out here on the street and run 85 miles an hour, that's no big deal. So may as well run quarter mile and get some speed up. That being said, I've never really exactly been a thrill junkie. It's more of an engineering challenge, really, to me these days. I'm an engineer by trade. So my biggest thrill is not the driving. It's when I get the time slip and I see, did the car do what I was trying to make it do? And the challenge of, am I good enough to make the car go fast enough to win? Okay.
Well, it certainly looks like you got the car to do that. I mean, that is a beautiful ride. I know I've said it many times over again, but I don't think I can say it enough. That thing is gorgeous, man. So before we hop off here, I want you to give a shout out to your Two Quick Novas page and give us a little rundown on that, and what can we find on there?
Yeah. Thanks for reminding me of that. And here's a shameless plug right here. But twoquicknovas.com is a web page that Bruce Johnson and I put together back in about 98 or 99. And we were getting asked a lot of questions on the Nova listserv mailing list. And a lot of the same questions kind of over and over. So we thought, well, it might be nice to have, kind of a reference that we can send people to where they can find some answers. So it's got tech articles. It's got a lot of information about both the cars. Now, a lot of the information is dated on my car. I've not done a good job of keeping it up to date lately. Then we've hosted the Nova listserv gathering for the last 20 years at various spots around the country. And so there's pictures and kind of write-ups about those. We've kind of slacked off writing those up the last few years too. But with the advent of social media and Facebook, that fewer and fewer people are looking to go to websites. But it's all still there. I've got articles about how to set up gears and rear end, how to put a posi in, how to, if you've got the distributor out of an engine, how to get the distributor back in and get the car to run again. If you need to swap an intake manifold, you need to swap heads, things like that. Kind of a little more basic level tech articles.
A lot of good tech tips and everything. So I'm going to break the rules here for a minute, and I want you to give us a little quick rundown of that nice shoebox you got going there. That is something for somebody to look at for sure. So give us a little rundown on that beauty.
Wasn't that car originally purchased for your wife, Craig?
This is my wife's car. She bought it. She at the 2000 gathering, she saw Krabby Carl Breslau's convertible. She said, I had no idea they made convertible Novas. I said, they made them in 62 and 63. And her exact words were, I'll have one of those. And sure enough, I didn't really take her serious at that point, but she kept, she was bringing home the Auto Trader and had me looking on every website. I looked at them in Chicago, Pittsburgh, Atlanta. I found this one 2 hours from home on the north side of Louisville, and we've had it since November 14th of 2000. So it's the paint is super old on everything but the hood and the trunk lid. I've painted those. I'm kind of proud of my hood. it's not as nice
It
as
looks
it
really
looks
nice.
right there, but I'm pretty proud of that. But what I'm most proud of, and I'm going to set the phone down while I pop the hood. I'm most proud of my LS swap. That's a 2004 5.3, and could not bring myself to put an ugly LS in it, but I was wanting a modern injected engine in it. This is what we ended up with. It's got ICT billet adapters for the valve covers, the Holley intake with the Holley throttle body. It's got a 99 truck computer and harness that I modified. The computer is above the dash box, the glove box at the top of the dash. So inside the car, you don't see anything that's out of the ordinary, and you don't see any of the wiring for it. So all the wiring goes to the back of the tunnel, and people don't know what to think of it usually. They'll either walk up to it and just walk on by and think, it's just another stock motor, or they'll walk up to it and say, I have no idea what that is. And then about 3 or 4 people tops, and I did this swap in 17, about 3 or 4 people tops have said, man, that LS looks good. And nobody else knows. Nobody else knows what it is.
That is something. That is incredible.
Yeah, I love those adapters on there. Make it look like the old school valve covers. You got looks like what you got, like a high rise intake on it, and it does. It looks like an old school Chevy. Like small block sitting in there. It's gorgeous, man.
Yeah, thank you. I did a lot of suspension work. It's got a CPP mini subframe under it, Willwood brakes on the front. It's got an S10 two-wheel drive S10 rear end with some custom offset shackles in the back, where I could fit these 17 by 9s on the back. And so it's much tighter to possibly get under one of these cars without mini tubbing it. And of course, mini tubbing a convertible is just a nightmare, and I wasn't willing to do that. So, but this is our cruiser. It's got 12-second power. It doesn't have a 12-second time slip to show for it yet, but maybe with a posi and a little looser converter, I think it could go 1290s. But
a lot of my buddies I hear in Cali have a lot of LS swapped 63, 64, 62 Novas and everything. And I literally can count on my hand how many have like 355s or 350s in them, from back in the day, or whether it be like a crate 350 or something. A lot of people are doing the LS swap nowadays, but not too many people are doing them like that. Like you have them set up to where it looks like it's an old school motor. And I think that's really indicative to the character of both cars, of how you have them built so well and everything. It's really a testament to how well both cars are built just by looking at that. I'm glad you showed us that. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Hopefully, I know all the group loves all old cars. So yeah, thanks for letting me show that one off too. So yeah, if anybody's got any questions, I'd be happy to answer any. I think David was wanting me to talk a little bit, if we've got time, about some stock suspension tricks. And
yeah, go ahead,
even though I don't
away.
have the stock A arms on the car anymore, and I think somebody maybe had mentioned this, but one trick to loosening up your front suspension with stock A arms is to take your cross shaft bolts off, take the big washer that's underneath those off, put a 3/8 high collar lock washer under it, and then put it back on. So that'll pull that big washer away from the bushing and allow the upper control arm to move much, much more freely. On the lower control arms, you can achieve the same thing by double nutting the lower control arm pivots, so that you don't crank the inner nut all the way down to put load on the bushings. But with the double nut method, it's still nice and safe. And so you can free up the movement of the front suspension that way. I'm also a fan of getting a car low, especially pretty much everything I'm talking about, for straight line traction. I found getting a car low and having plenty of upward travel, especially when, maybe you're making, 4, 5, 6, 700 horsepower, something like that. You need quite a bit of upward travel to get the car to weight transfer. So my car is actually a little bit higher now than it's been in the past. It's been lower than this just a little bit, but I don't have the oil pan clearance with this setup. But as far as in the back, you could just go dead nuts simple and make these cars work. Slapper bars work. And something else, every time that I've added to the roll cage, the car has gotten faster. Even though it adds weight, I used to, in my mind, I was thinking, I don't want to add more weight to the car by putting more bars in the car. But every time that I've upgraded the chassis, the car has gone faster. So that's
a lot more
that's something else that I like to tell people.
Yeah, that all comes down to the stability of the car. And like you said, being able to transfer the power to the ground and proper weight shift and stuff like that. That's really what it comes down to. Yeah, absolutely. David, you got anything you want to shoot at him?
Actually, when he just brought up the slapper bar thing, it just reminded me that the traction bars that I built for my car were actually suggestions brought on by Bruce and Craig back in the day with emails and the listserv. They're the reasons I built the new traction bars that went right to the spring eye. And these guys told me how important it was for it to go right to the spring eye and not onto the spring. And the twoquicknovas.com website has helped me out along the way. Like, I'm nowhere near where these guys were, but they definitely put me on the path. They've been very helpful to me in the past. And yeah, I'm blown away by this car. I just don't know what to say. It's just, wow.
Yeah,
but I also want to say, if you go to twoquicknovas.com and the burnout page, there's actually some pictures of my Nova doing a burnout there, as well as my buddy's Sunfire.
Yeah, nice. There is, isn't there?
Yes. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
A little bit of history.
And
there.
And in the world of social media, I'm probably most of my more recent posts have been on my Two Quick Novas Facebook page. So you can also.
You have a Facebook page, and I haven't been told.
Well, I tried to invite you the other day, but it wouldn't let me. I could not find your name on the. Well, we are, and I thought, well, how come I can't invite him? But I don't know.
We're trying to make friends here, not split people up. Come on.
Make love, not war, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, you can find me Two Quick Novas Racing on Facebook as well. So
I'm looking for you right now.
Have to definitely check that one out as well too. I didn't get a chance to go through the complete page of twoquicknovas.com, but I did get a chance to scan through a little bit of it, and like what you said on there, it looks like you guys got quite a good bit of information that really anybody can kind of, right when they start getting their car, they can kind of hop on there and start looking up tech tips and stuff like that. I know we have a few things on our group, and I'm sure the Two Quick Novas Facebook group also has a lot of good knowledge as well.
Actually, I am on that page. I have it clicked as liked and following, but it's not like a group. It's just a page.
It's just me.
Yeah, that's wicked. Yeah, no, I've clicked on there, and yeah, I'm on that, and it's actually Two Quick Novas Racing. That's what it's called.
Sarah, do you have anything for Craig? You got any questions for him or anything? I don't want to leave you out.
Actually, I got one more quick thing here, Will. I just want to say that that other Nova that's on twoquicknovas.racing, Bruce Johnson, his nephew is Zach Hansen, who's fixing up the 74 Nova in our Facebook group.
Oh, cool.
No joke.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
World. You didn't know that, Craig?
I had no idea.
Yeah, I started talking to him, I guess a couple months ago when he started fixing up his car. And then I found that out, and it was like, what a small world, because with you and Bruce helping me out when I first started, here I was helping this kid out when he first started, and I just thought, what a small world.
It is a small world.
I think I knew he had a nephew that was working on a Nova, but I had no idea that that I would have any contact with him. So yeah,
he's in the group.
That's pretty cool. Awesome.
So what were you saying, Sarah?
Sorry, I don't have anything, and my phone's about to die.
Oh, okay. So. What about Lou? Lou came in a little late. We're probably about to be coming up on our time here in a minute anyway, but I just wanted to give everybody a chance. Did you have anything, Lou? I know your video's off and you're muted, but if you got anything for Craig, just give him a shout out real quick, if so.
Yeah, I probably missed it earlier, but what's the displacement of that turbo engine?
That is a 388. It's a 388.
Well,
It's got trick flow 245s. It's a LS based motor. It's billet atomizer, 575 injectors, BTR equalizer 1 intake. Let's see what else would be of interest. Diamond pistons, Callie's rod and crank. Performance Concepts LSR aluminum block, AEM Infinity ECU controls it all, and Precision 76 millimeter turbo that's Ultra Street and NMCA Extreme Street legal, which is what the car was built for. And I can't talk cam. I'm sworn to secrecy on that. And the heads have a lot of work to them. It made 1,385 to the rear tires.
Woo!
That's awesome.
That Sarah just said it. Like, that is dream right there. That is dream type build for a lot of us. I mean, I'm so glad, we were able to make this happen tonight. You have such an amazing car there, such a beautiful build, and your time and effort certainly has shown, through and through, from top to bottom, bumper to bumper. That thing is gorgeous. Everything about it.
I think he should put the wipers back on.
Yeah.
Well,
you know what? He might be able to go fast enough where the water just flees right over it, and you won't have to worry about it.
Yeah, it just gives it that streetcar look. But again, I'm one of the silent purists in our group, and I like my 73 and 74s to look like a 73, 74. And I love the fact, Craig, again, I know I've said this many times, but that it looks like a 73, 74. That's perfect.
Hey, that could be some of your weight addition right there, Craig. If you need to add another couple of ounces, you can throw those on there and you'll be good to go, man.
That's awesome.
Yep. Yeah. I walked right to them, knew exactly where they were.
That's awesome.
And if anybody needs a junky amp, I've got a few laying around. So.
There you go. I think we all do. I think I got a few of those laying in the shop as well.
Like Will said earlier, Craig, thank you very much for taking the time out and sharing this beast with us.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much again, man, for coming on. I really appreciate it. You have an amazing car. What are we looking at here, Craig? Is that your?
That was 2011 weight reduction. I kept up with everything that I added and took away from the car.
Oh, wow.
So there's
quite a bit of stuff.
There's quite a bit of information there.
Nice. Again, Craig, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it. I want to thank Richard. I want to thank, Sarah, Lou, a few of the other members that hopped on and off that I missed.
Charles Albright was also on, and Richard.
Yep. So I just wanted to thank everybody for joining us tonight and checking out Craig's awesome ride. Certainly have one of the baddest ones out there, in my opinion. That thing is nasty, dude, in all the good ways. Really great.
Appreciate all the kind words. That's just awesome. I just really appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries, man. It is certainly well deserved because we all put a lot of hard work in our rides, whether it be, Sarah's Ford truck or that Fox body behind Dave there.
Lou, there's no work going on this thing. No, all over there. That's where the money is.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. I was just trying to give you a little credit, but but it was good. It was good chatting with you guys tonight.
Yeah.
I look forward to the next one. And anybody that's watching this that hasn't had their car up and wants to get on one of these videos, either PM myself or David or Lou, and we can get you guys linked up in a video, no problem.
And again, that's
Yeah, everybody should do it. It's been a
twoquicknovas.com.
blast.
Go check it out. twoquicknovas.com.
Thanks for joining and tuning in, and we'll see you on the next Zoom show. All right.